Hello and welcome, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Welcome into another YouTube live show tonight. I am John Kurtz. We've got football to talk about. This is the final show before the Big 12 football season officially starts, ladies and gentlemen. How about that? We've got Farmageddon on Saturday. We've got KU Fresno on Saturday. I want to break down those games because you know what this means. In the old words of Tupac, all eyes on me. All eyes on the Big 12 this weekend. Be it K-State, and then be it Kansas-Fresno. Those are far and away the two best games of the weekend. I suppose my apologies to Hawaii and Stanford. So people are going to be watching, and it's a chance to set the tone for the season for the Big 12 and potentially to launch Heisman campaigns, college football playoff hype campaigns for winners of games this weekend, particularly what happens out there in Ireland. You guys know I obviously have a strong connection to Farmageddon with the K-State ties, so I've got a lot of thoughts that probably will surprise you, to be quite honest, on what I think about this game coming up on Saturday. We're going to break down Kansas more than maybe you think we should or would have, in part because of something I found on ESPN, all right? We may be missing something about this Kansas team that is not generated a whole lot of discussion, I think, nationally in terms of the Big 12 title race so far this year. And then Texas Tech, man. Texas Tech has generated a lot of discussion, tons of headlines, but had you seen anybody pick them to win the national championship until today? Because it did happen today. So I'll tell you all about that. Later in the show, I'm tucking this in the back half of the show because we've got actual football to talk about. I did not, normally, a lot of times I might have led with this if it were an off-season show. We have some evidence to suggest that perhaps Big 12 schools are going to be $100 million behind every single year. This per an ACC athletic director, but I will save that until the very end of the show. And hey, BYU fans, you just named a new starting quarterback, right? Bear Bachmeier is the starter officially. Last I talked to you on Sunday, that was not official. It is now official. And you get some good news to go along with that because you've got some now predicting BYU to the Big 12 championship game after announcing Bear Bachmeier as the starter. So maybe not as risky as we all thought. I appreciate everybody for being here. As you file in, please do like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel. All of that is great. All of that really helps. I appreciate each and every one of you who do that. Really looking forward to getting the football season going, man. My juices are flowing for this. And so it's a great time to not only be tuned into what's happening here on the channel, but be tuned into Open for Business, ofbnews.com, to get subscribed to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter. Great time. You'll get newsletters twice a week, sometimes 3 times a week during football season, straight to your inbox. And it is great stuff. Join 5,000 plus and growing Big 12 fan subscribers to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you want to leave a question or comment there. If you're not watching live, I will kick off the show with your Venmo comments, which I will do here in just a moment because I did get a couple. But if you're going to be here, if you're going to be in the chat, obviously, hit up the chat, make it lively. And then you can click the $ below the chat box if you want to leave a super chat and leave a donation there. So lots of ways to get in touch, lots of ways to support what it is that I'm doing here on the channel. We're going to start with Joe on Venmo. So, Joe, thank you for your support. Actually, we're not going to start with Joe. I read this one last time. My apologies on that, Joe. It was Jeffrey. Thank you anyway for the support, Joe, by the way. But Jeffrey is who we start with on Venmo. Jeffrey said, thanks for the extra segment on Bear. Go Cougs. Hey, Jeffrey, good news. I've got another segment, not totally on Bear, but it is connected to Bear Bachmeier and some of the aftermath of Bear Bachmeier being named the starter at BYU. So how about that? Get you a little bit of extra Bear Bachmeier and BYU coverage. And this is a part of what I have been saying this whole time about why I hope Bear Bachmeier would win that job, right? It's because it's a better story. It's a more compelling story. And so it's getting more discussion. Plus, you get great AI-generated images of Bears in a BYU football jersey, wearing the number 47, no less. I can't, I put out on Twitter, everybody should be applauding this because a quarterback, a college football quarterback wearing number 47, absolutely rules. And most, I mean, I would say like 99% of the response was that. But there was like that 1%, man. You can always find somebody to hate on something. You still find some people hating on that. I don't get it. I don't get it. Okay. Anyway, we are going to start in Ireland, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to start in Ireland because the Big 12 this weekend can make a statement, particularly K-State and or Iowa State can make a statement launching a Heisman campaign or launching a playoff push. And this will be literally the one time, the only time throughout this entire college football season that all eyes will be focused in on the Big 12. So do not blow this opportunity. I think that needs to be the first and foremost thing said about what is going to happen this weekend. Think about the landscape of college football right now. We are living in a Power 2 world, whether we like it or not. It is not one where the Big 12 generates a whole ton of attention. Even within the rest of the hierarchy, the ACC has the bigger brands. They have a team in Clemson who some are picking to win the national championship this year. That's going to be a team that at times could command the attention of the college football world. This is a rare, unique opportunity. And well, I would much rather live in a world where we're just still playing every single game on campus. You're not having to go play these games overseas. We are here. You're playing games like this for this very reason. Yes, there's a payday involved too. But the main reason is to generate this kind of spotlight on your conference. Look, TCU's doing it again next year. Okay? It's a big deal for the league to have this. And it sets up a massive opportunity. I mean, the Big 12 is going to, in most ways, win no matter what. I don't know what, if you're thinking like Big 12 perspective, what's the best case scenario, best outcome? Probably that one of the quarterbacks totally balls out. That you have a generally good game. Both teams look good. It's a fun game, higher scoring, and then one of the quarterbacks just totally balls out and can take off as like a Heisman candidate from there. That's probably your best case scenario for the league as a whole. But for both of these teams, man, a massive potential swing in what your season is going to look and feel like here. Because if you win, you're going to get the boost of like the entire country watching you and being dialed into whatever happens. And there's always overreactions to what happens early on in a college football season. So that can be good or bad. If you play poorly, there will be an overreaction to that. One, because everybody saw it. And two, because it's the only reference point they have for the year. That's the only thing that they've seen. Literally the only college football that they have seen. You saw what happened to Florida State last year. Now they had lots of problems, but I think it obviously didn't help that they went and laid an egg in that week 0 game against Georgia Tech. Or maybe laying egg is too harsh after what we know about Georgia Tech by the end of the year. But at the time, it certainly felt like it. And 5 million people watched that game. The TV number last year was basically right at 5 million that watched that game. It was the top game on cable the entire season. So when I say the entire country will be watching this game on Saturday, the entire country will be watching this game on Saturday. More people watched that game last year between FSU and Georgia Tech than any other cable game. So just not ABC, CBS, NBC, any other cable game the entire year. It's going to be a huge audience. For the Big 12, 5 million is a bunch. You had Colorado putting up like the 3 and 4 million numbers sometimes last year. This possibly will be 5. I would think with 2 numbers beside the names, a top 25 matchup, that's going to help as well. So you win, people are going to love you. If you win, either of these teams have quarterbacks that are probably going to have to make a bunch of plays to win. Your quarterback's going to get a lot of hype and become a name, and there will be talk now, oh, can this guy win the Heisman? Very good chance of that happening, or at least being a fringe candidate. There will just be a lot of hype generated for your team, or if you lose, particularly if you play poorly, lose handily, man, you're going to get written off before anybody else has played a game. You'll just kind of disappear. And that's a harsh reality, but in the Big 12, you don't have a lot of room for error when it comes to national narratives. Your season is definitely not totally over. Ask Arizona State last year, who started, 5-2? Arizona State clawed back from irrelevancy through 7 games of the season, became a huge storyline. It's not totally over, but it'll take a long way to get back, and you'll feel kind of buried by that. So this is definitely one of those things that like a coach I know would hate. A coach would hate to hear that and be like, John, what are you talking about? one game at a time. We've got a whole bunch of season left. I get it. I know. But the reality of the media landscape and the attention economy that is college football, you're going to be in some debt. You're going to be in massive, massive debt if you lose this game, especially if you lose it and do not play very well. And I would actually say, I think K-State is the side with more to lose here just because K-State has had a little bit more of the hype this offseason, despite the fact that Iowa State was the team that won the head-to-head and went to the Big 12 championship game last year. But K-State has basically been your de facto Big 12 preseason favorite. They were the favorite according to the unofficial media poll conducted by the Gambling Gauchos. They were the favorite according to the unofficial Big 12 poll of head coaches that Brett McMurphy did. But those coaches picked this as the Big 12 title game. So that can also be a Big 12 title game rematch that you have at the end of the year. But K-State has been the team, even in that coaches poll, that they did pick to win. So I think you got a little bit more to lose there. People could jump off that pick pretty quick if they see you go out and not play well when the entire country, everybody here is watching. And if you're K-State, I think everybody's like, look, this has been a consistent program. We know they're going to win at least 8 games. They'll be in the thick of it. They've got Avery Johnson at quarterback who has this otherworldly potential, but he has been very inconsistent. And if Avery Johnson doesn't play well in week 0, I think it'll be easy for everybody to just fall right back into, yeah, okay, great. He's got a lot of talent, but he's not there yet. He's not ready. And so I think that narrative could really build on K-State pretty quickly. As far as the actual game goes, right? Like, how do I think this game is going to go? I mean, there are a lot of question marks for both teams. Like, I think K-State needs to prove that they can consistently move the chains on offense. We know that they're explosive. They were explosive last year. They have Avery Johnson, Dylan Edwards, and Jace Brown, who are all three about as explosive as it gets at quarterback, running back, and wide receiver in the conference, certainly at least, but also really the country. But they don't have DJ Giddens anymore, who was explosive in his own right, but also a guy who could help you keep the chains moving. K-State's got some new faces on the offensive line. They've got an injury at offensive tackle with George Fitzpatrick not playing. And then I guess really a health situation is what I should say, and not an injury, but he's not going to be out there. And you've got a new offensive line coach and a new offensive coordinator this year. So questions there. And Avery Johnson, again, can you be consistent? Can you take a step forward? Avery Johnson did not play a good game at all against Iowa State at the end of the year last year when he was beat up and I think not willing to run the ball very much, which is something to keep in mind. Meanwhile, Iowa State, another very explosive offense last year, but they lost 2 NFL receivers and just 2 of them. I mean, I hated playing those guys. 2 of the absolute best college wide receivers you're ever going to see in Jaden Higgins and Jalen Knoll. They're now in the NFL. Rocco Becht was already under 60% as a passer last year. Had a lot of turnover-worthy plays, didn't get burned perhaps as much as he should have at times. So what does that look like now without those 2 stud receivers? Chase Soule, Xavier Townsend, ready to step in, listed with an or on the depth chart, right? Or were they even just number 2? I don't know. I feel like Matt Campbell may have been playing some games on the depth chart there. We'll see. There's a 6'5" freshman that was in there as a first-team receiver. There are 2 very good tight ends that Rocco Becht has to throw to as well. And that to me is where the concern really comes in on the K-State side of things, is that the K-State secondary is very new. I mean, there's a lot of talk, hey, maybe the weakest link isn't as weak as it was last year, but it's very new. And especially at safety, you may be you're going to be playing a bunch of true freshmen at safety. Gunnar Maldonado, who's an Arizona transfer, who I think is very good, has been battling an injury, may play, may not. They're not sure. Same with Colby McAllister, another safety who is hurt. Coming back from an injury, Colby McAllister. I have some concerns. 2 brand new corners. Jacob Parrish and Marquise Siegel, the 2 NFL draftees from the K-State secondary last year, are playing great in the NFL preseason right now. So it just makes you feel the magnitude of that loss a little bit more. And that's really where my concern lies in this game. I have been sticking tried and true to this, all right? Anybody who's been listening, especially to Threema, the K-State podcast I do with Cole Manbeck and Derek Young, knows that I have been consistent in saying throughout this entire offseason, man, I think Iowa State will win the game. I need K-State to break through and do this. They've lost 4 of 5 to Matt Campbell at Iowa State. The one win in there was by 1 point. So Matt Campbell has really had K-State's number in the last 5 years. And until I see more consistency from Avery Johnson and the K-State offense, and until I see K-State get that Matt Campbell monkey off of its back, I think it's only fair to pick Iowa State here, especially with Rocco Becht returning. Question marks in the K-State secondary, and just an experienced signal caller who's going to be standing back there. So it's what I predicted on 3-Ma. I've been getting crushed for it. I've been getting called Cy Kurtz by my co-host Cole Manbeck. Our own Discord for 3-Ma has just been eating me up. But I'm nothing if not consistent, guys. I'm going to stand in and take the heat and the pressure in the pocket. I'm going to stand in the pocket and still deliver the ball. I hope I'm wrong as a K-State guy, but I call it like I see it. I call it like I see it right now. But it will be a great game, a great showcase for the Big 12, and I'm ecstatic on Saturday to watch it. I've been talking about that watch party. It is sold out, so I'm sorry if you had interest in going to the watch party in the Kansas City area for our 3-Ma podcast. It is sold out. It is sold out, so you will not be able to attend. Please like the video. Please do subscribe to the channel as you file in here. Appreciate everybody who is here tonight. John Eskirts-4 on Venmo. And if you really want to support what it is that I'm doing, you can subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter at ofbnews.com or click the link in the description of this video. 5,000 plus Big 12 fans already subscribe to that. It is totally free and hits your inbox twice a week. So 2 of ESPN FPI's top 4 Big 12 teams are playing this Saturday, but only one of them is involved in Farmageddon. It is not K-State and Iowa State like you would assume. Are we totally overlooking one major Big 12 title contender? That's the question that I've got to ask here tonight. Because look, Farmageddon should be great. Just went through that game ad nauseum. Farmageddon should be awesome, but it's not the only Big 12 game kicking off on Saturday. We also have KU and Fresno State at 5 o'clock. I think this was a wise move by Kansas to do this, to show off its new stadium. They want the spotlight. They get Big Fox for this game at 5. You'll get a huge audience for that too. And you get a non-conference game that is, obviously winnable. I think it's also one that is within the realm of possibility being losable. Fresno has been a pretty proud program over the years, but you get an opportunity to win a game in front of a big audience that can see your new shiny stadium that you're showing off. Nothing bad to say about that. I like the move by Kansas to go ahead and do this. But are they a Big 12 title contender? Nobody seems to really be talking about that. I feel like Kansas is kind of in like a tier 3 for most people, probably in the Big 12. There are a lot of new faces on this Kansas roster. People will recognize Jalen Daniels, obviously at quarterback, who's been around since the COVID season. They will not see Devin Neal. They will not see Kobe Bryant. They will not see Mello Dotson. A lot of the names, the stalwarts of the turnaround under Lance Leipold, are now gone, and there are 40-plus newcomers for Kansas this year. And a lot of those guys in the receiver room and in the secondary, that's what has held me back from saying, I think this Kansas team really, truly can contend for a Big 12 title this year. That has been what has held me back from this. Now, this game against Fresno, there's a lot new on that side, too. Kansas is like a 12.5 point favorite. Matt Entz comes in from North Dakota State. He's the new head coach at Fresno State. They've got to replace a ton. Both teams, it's just college football these days. You pulled a bunch of kids from the portal. See what happens. You're playing a week 0 game. Nobody really knows. But when you add up, again, you're going, how many hurdles are in the way of being a Big 12 title contender here? One is Devin Neal, generational running back for Kansas, program-defining running back for Kansas, gone. That receiver room, man, Luke Grimm, I saw him doing big things in the NFL preseason the other day. Lawrence Arnold, the guys that they had in that receiver room forever were studs. And then obviously at corner, Jacoby Bryant, Mello Dotson, they were all Big 12 guys in the secondary too. I've heard about all the buzz about Emmanuel Henderson, the Alabama transfer receiver for Kansas. I know they've hit the portal really hard, but to me, you are asking an awful lot for all of that stuff to hit for them to be like a 10, 11 win team this year. That's not to discount anything on Jalen Daniels. I'm not trying to take away anything from Daniel Highshaw, who's back at running back, who I think is a good running back. I don't think he's Devin Neal. And I think the odds of that receiver room being at or above where they were last year are very slim. Very, very slim. But what do I know? Because ESPN, again, I mentioned ESPN FPI. ESPN FPI is by no means a perfect metric at all. Okay. Don't get me wrong with that. I'm using this just because it was such an interesting data point. There's another data point from ESPN FPI that I'm going to use later on in the show. But the FPI thinks KU is a legitimate Big 12 title contender. It has KU solidly above Baylor and in fourth place in the Big 12, just a step below BYU and Arizona State, and then K-State was number one there. So that's why I started asking the question here to myself, going to challenge myself, challenge anybody out there listening. Are we missing something? Because my fellow media compadres, man, my fellow media compadres in the Gambling Gauchos preseason Big 12 media poll, Kansas was tied for ninth with Houston. With Houston, man. I mean, they smoked Houston last year at Arrowhead. And I guess, based on their overall records last year, I shouldn't be saying it like, oh, tied with Houston. But I think if you take the last 3 years of what Kansas has been compared to what Houston has been, you would understand why I put a little bit of emphasis on that. So surprising to me. I mean, I'm a little higher on Kansas than that. I think Kansas is like a 7-5, 8-4 kind of team. I don't expect them to compete for a Big 12 title, but I don't look forward to K-State having to play that game at the new stadium this year. I can tell you that much. I think they will be competitive. I think Lance Leipold is just too good. But if you are counting on them being a Big 12 title contender, you're saying Lance Leipold's coaching chops plus, hitting at an A minus to A range at least in the portal with 40 plus newcomers. And then you're also, I think, counting on, last year it wasn't that we lost Andy Kotelnicki at offensive coordinator. It was that Lance Leipold made a bad hire and Jeff Grimes couldn't get synced up with Jalen Daniels at the beginning of the year or Jalen Daniels rust. It just didn't work out. And all of that stuff, all of those dominoes are going to fall because I think all of those dominoes would have to fall to make Kansas an actual Big 12 title contender. But Lance Leipold on sheer coaching acumen and ability alone, I think can get them to be a 7-5 team this year, coming back with JD6 at quarterback. So some thoughts there on where Kansas is going. But what about that was an entity picking a Big 12 team to finish top 4 in the conference. And I'm saying, hey, Big 12 title contender, that's surprising. How about a national outlet picking a Big 12 school to win a national championship? All right. Nobody, myself included, has had the stones to do that or say that it's even possible. But we did see it today. I did see it today. Okay. Famously, these days, the narrative is that, hey, the Big 12 is never going to win another natty, right? Last time it happened, Texas in 2005, Texas not in the conference anymore. TCU got totally smoked by Georgia when they got to the championship game in 22, to the point where TCU nobody remembers or gives TCU credit anymore for beating Michigan. Nobody cares because of what happened against Georgia. It's kind of ridiculous, but it is what it is. And now you're sitting here like, all right, well, the teams that are left in the conference, you've got, I was saying 2 national championships. I was not counting TCUs, which were submitted by somebody else. But okay, if you want to say 3 teams that have won national championships in their history at all, one in the 90s, one in the 80s, the TCU ones were in the 30s, right? 30s or 40s. Yeah, it's not exactly a league where you expect national champions to be coming from these days. And no more buys in the playoff for the Big 12 champ to reasonably go obtain, make it feel like it's even more impossible for the Big 12 to even make a Final Four, which is what the playoff used to be for anybody to even pull off a TCU. Okay. So I hadn't even seen anybody, in all these playoff projections, people have been dropping them this week because we have week 0 of the season kind of officially kicking off. I had not even seen anybody having a Big 12 team advancing in the playoff, let alone making it to a national championship game, let alone winning the national championship. And now We do have at least one. We do have at least one. It's not Arizona State. It's not the team that damn near made it to the semis last year, one play away. It's not K-State, who I said has been more or less the de facto favorite to win the Big 12 if you're just taking in a consolidation of all the media polls and predictions that are out there. Not even Baylor, who I think has a crazy high ceiling and will play for a Big 12 title. Now, I know you may laugh. I'm not talking about ESPN FPI anymore. Okay, it's not that. But what it is, let's see. What it is this. Fox College Sports ran the NCAA 26 simulation, courtesy of EA Sports, 50 times. They ran it 50 times to see who would win. And look at this. Not only does Texas Tech win a national championship, but Texas Tech wins the national championship 4 times. 4 times, which is tied for 4th most with Miami and Oregon. If you have not bought a copy of this game and you are a Texas Tech fan, you might want to go do it right now because it appears it'd be quite fun to play as the Red Raiders if they're going to be number 4 in terms of winning national championships, just behind Penn State, Georgia, and Clemson, who are all going to be major favorites to win it all this year. Now, can you point out, hey, John, Texas A&M is one of the teams on there predicted to win a title, and obviously this list is not valid if you have Texas A&M winning a national championship, or Duke winning a national championship, or Nebraska winning a national championship. And to that, I would say, fair. I really have no counter argument on that at all. But this was funny. It was very interesting, especially when I had to kind of do this just to dig it myself, because they also released a list of who in all of those simulations won the Heisman. And I got to show you this. Texas Tech fans, get that smack talk ready, my friends, because Baron Morton was one of the players that won a Heisman in the 50 simulations. Baron Morton won a Heisman. And I know Tech fans get annoyed with me saying, like, a part of the reason I can't get all the way there with Tech is because I wonder about the ceiling for Baron Morton. Now, he's no Cade Klubnik, who won it 13 times. What did I tell you? The Clemson hype is real this year. Clemson hype is absolutely real. I like seeing Zachariah Branch in there. That's fun. But Baron Morton almost winning a Heisman as often as John Mateer at Oklahoma. Anyway, just some fun fodder here, okay? Some fun fodder here with Texas Tech. Texas Tech feels made for being sexy in a video game, right? There's going to be a lot of guys that have big, gaudy ratings next to their name as they come in from the transfer portal, particularly on the defensive line, like in the trenches. Now, tough blow, Texas Tech. Look, I'm trying to prop up the Red Raiders here. They did lose transfer running back from USC for the entire season. That's a tough blow, but to me, I would say I know that it's not like Tech signed 5 running backs out of the portal or anything, but this is why you go out and get a number 1 portal class as a whole. That was not like just the one crown jewel of the portal class. There's a lot there. You can find ways to still make that up and keep moving and be a title contender. Yeah, let me know what you think about that. Anybody open to the idea that Tech can buy its way into the national championship game? And I don't say that derogatively, if that's a word, Texas Tech fans. I don't say that to take a shot like some people do. Everybody is trying to buy their way into the national championship. Penn State, Clemson, all those teams, everybody's trying to buy their way into the national championship. Texas Tech takes a bunch of crap for it because they don't have an SEC or a Big Ten patch on their chest. It's kind of dumb. I'm not trying to do that. But the question I'm asking all of you guys is, do you think that can actually happen at some point? All right, like the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, ofbnews.com. Join the 5,000 plus. Is that about 5,060 earlier today? 5,060 subscribers to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, ofbnews.com, or click the link in the description of this video to get signed up there. John-Kurtz-4 if you want to drop me a line on Venmo. And if you leave a question or comment there, I will kick off the next show with your question or comment so you can be a part of all of this, okay? Lots of ways to stay connected here with the show and what it is that I am doing. So BYU has has made it official with Bear Bachmeier. Okay. I want to talk a little bit more about that in just a moment. I'm going to tease that for you. Bear Bachmeier apparently has caught the eye of some folks who have BYU now in the Big 12 championship game after the announcement, post Bear Bachmeier announcement. Okay. But first, let's say hello to my friends at SeatGeek. Football season is here, guys, and that means we all need to find good deals on tickets, all right? And the best place to do that is SeatGeek. I have to give a huge shout out to SeatGeek, the sponsor of today's video. With over 28 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. There are over 70,000 events listed on SeatGeek. So obviously, college football is covered, but if you're a music guy like me, it's perfect for concerts. I'm buying a ton of concert tickets this fall. And I tell you what, I have my eye on those Holy War tickets for BYU and Utah coming up as well. And man, all you got to do is open up the app. It's perfect. You can go check what's going on here, find the green dots in the seat. That means they're good deals. Red dots, maybe not so much, but SeatGeek will help you find the best deals on seats depending on where it is that you are trying to sit. They're each rated on a scale of 1 to 10. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And you guys know I'm here for you. I've got a code for you. Code Kurtz gets you $20 off your tickets. Again, that's code Kurtz for $20 off tickets at SeatGeek. $20 off your first purchase with promo code Kurtz. Make sure you just click the link in the description to download the app and have that code on hand and ready to go. Guys, I'm here to help you out. I've got your back. Hit up my friends at SeatGeek. Promo code Kurtz, everybody. $20 off your first order on SeatGeek. Thank you to SeatGeek for sponsoring this here video today. All right, BYU made it official. Bear Bachmeier, true freshman starting quarterback, first true freshman to start a season opener in school history at BYU. ESPN has made it official as well. The worldwide leader says the Cougs are going to the Big 12 championship game. And this is post Bear Bachmeier being announced as the starting quarterback. All right, so I asked the question earlier, did we overlook Kansas too much as a Big 12 title contender? Have we all collectively overlooked BYU too much as a Big 12 title contender without Jake Retzloff? Probably a little bit more of that sentiment when Jake Retzloff was still there as the starting quarterback. Let's get this out of the way. It is a joyous day. This was the best case scenario for a neutral observer of the Big 12. This is a best case scenario for generating interest in the Big 12. I think there's going to be more interest about Bear Bachmeier at quarterback than there would McKay Hillstead. Now, you can say, John, just win. It'll take care of itself. Fair enough. But a quarterback that is a true freshman, wearing number 47, starting a season opener at BYU, and his name is Bear, that's what college football is all about, my friends. This is why we love the sport. We don't get many opportunities to relish these type of things that make college football what it is in a day and age where we're talking about 28-team playoffs. Bowls don't matter anymore. We're playing games not only in Ireland, but we're moving clean old-fashioned hate like Georgia Tech to a sterile dome instead of playing it on campus. We're getting all these traditions stripped away from us. All of the things that make college football unique. It's turning into NFL light. We're trying to hang on to what we got. What we have here, folks, I just want to emphasize, is a true freshman starting quarterback wearing the number 47 named Bear. That's college football as hell. And that's why we love this sport, damn it. Okay, so I am totally all the way here for Bear Bachmeier being the starting quarterback at BYU. And hey, if you're reading about him, one, it's really fun to hear some of the backstory on this stuff. And then two, I mean, what Aaron Roderick, the offensive coordinator at BYU, had to say about him, it's pretty damn encouraging, man. It's pretty damn encouraging. First things first on the story, I mean, if you're looking at this like, okay, 47, like why is he wearing number 47? What is a quarterback in this day and age doing wearing that number? Here is what he said. He used to play middle linebacker and running back growing up in football and wanted to do it as an homage to just like feel comfortable. The way he has always played football is number 47. And so he kept it. Who doesn't love that? You know, that's got to appeal to like the old school college football fan there. Look, it's kind of a throwback thing for Bear Bachmeier. It's sticking to tradition, right? That's his tradition. That's what he doesn't want. Don't strip the 4 off and just become a 7 or vice versa and just a 4. Give me both of them. Make me 47. And then his name being Bear, I thought that this was great too. The Deseret News had a quote on how he got the name Bear. He said, "My dad's grandpa was a fighter pilot. He smoked those unfiltered Camels and his voice was deep. He would always tell my dad, 'Get over here, Tiger,' in a growling voice. And my dad always thought that was cool. So he named James IV Tiger. Bear's brother, by the way, is Tiger, when he had a kid. And then he said the best one has to be named Bear. So Tiger and Bear came from the growling voice of his I guess this would be like Bear Bachmeier's great grandpa. That's a cool story too. Lots of great college football lore. These are great stories that should be worked into every broadcast this year, and I'm sure you'll hear it a bunch. But in terms of the merits of the job that now has ESPN beefing up BYU, sending them into the Big 12 championship game, they must have been reading the quotes. I don't know who feeds stuff to the machine that is ESPN FPI, but they must have been reading the quotes here, because Aaron Roderick, BYU offensive coordinator, said, quote, "Bear has earned the job. He's had a great camp, and he's our guy. He throws a lot of completions. He's really accurate. He's done a great job in camp of taking care of the football. He's thrown the fewest interceptions of all the guys, and he produced a lot of explosive plays and threw a bunch of touchdown passes." I mean, the latter there, you would probably figure, right? This is a true freshman that Alabama wanted, Notre Dame wanted, Michigan wanted, Oregon wanted. He's probably going to be a guy that's going to make some explosive plays. But being that young, you would figure, well, he's going to be turnover prone. Well, according to this, he is not turnover prone. He's been the least turnover prone of the 3. That's a great sign, man. I guess you can say, hey, John, don't take a coach fully at his word. Maybe he's lying. I don't know. Maybe. But all of the talk from Kalani Sitake on down was that, hey, the guys, the players, like, they really knew. They all knew who had outplayed who in camp, and it was not a surprise to anybody that it wound up being Bear Bachmeier. So that story seems to check out from multiple angles. It would be a hell of a cover-up if it is not true. And, man, I mean, assuming that is true, that's what you want. You want that guy to be able to go out and do that as a true freshman. BYU also doesn't seem like the type of staff that would just, if you are skeptical of this, that would just like hand a job over to a highly touted player just for the hell of it. You know, I mean, last year they had Gary Bohannon, who to me was the presumptive favorite to be the quarterback, not Jake Retzloff. I mean, Gary Bohannon was more high profile, Baylor transfer. I remember talking to Kalani Sitake at Big 12 Media Days, and like that was just my assumption. Hey, Gary Bohannon's going to be the guy. And I kind of asked a question like that. And he was like, well, I mean, Jake Retzloff he's still going to be in there too. I don't think this is a coaching staff that's really interested in doing any of that. So I'm definitely buying it. And that's music to your ears if you are a BYU fan. And that is why now he's not only the first true freshman to start a season opener at BYU, but he'll only be the 8th in history to start a game, period. And the last was Zach Wilson. So I know he's turned into a bit of a punchline in the NFL, but man, as a college player, hell of a college player. I think BYU fans would take that, right? And ESPN's FPI is buying the hype. Now, I'm not going to go all in. I saw one of the quotes going around on Twitter from somebody on Bear Bachmeier was like, well, he's like a Tim Tebow that can throw it better. I mean, like, okay, well, maybe let's chill out on placing the expectations that high on Bear Bachmeier, but he's a big dude, 6'2", 225, can move. So like, he's got some of that to him. Maybe he can be a more physical runner. I think the tool set there is very, very enticing at that size. And ESPN's FPI buying the hype. They have BYU in the Big 12 championship game, number 2 in the Big 12, and just barely ahead of Arizona State. Their FPI rating 10.5 to Arizona State's 10.4. So they're right in there. But 15% chance to win the conference, 17% chance to make the playoffs. So we're talking 1 in 5, basically, chance to win the playoff. 1 in 5 if you're a BYU fan, a chance to get to the playoff. I think you would take that. I think you would take those odds coming into this year, especially knowing that the circumstance is you lost Jake Retzloff and you were playing with a true freshman quarterback. So does BYU have a Big 12 championship ceiling? Probably. That defense, I think, is going to be nasty. And the defense damn near carried them into the Big 12 championship game last year, came up just short. And some of that was faulty quarterback play at the end. Jake Retzloff not executing all that well in the Kansas game at QB. And, you think first half of the Arizona State game too. I think this season is way more volatile if you're going to be playing Bear Bachmeier. But the other thing to remember is when you're talking ceiling and floor, I'm saying, hey, if you're playing Bear Bachmeier the whole year, yeah, your floor may have become lower. But just because you start Bear Bachmeier doesn't mean that McKay Hillstead just disappears and goes away. McKay Hillstead could be somebody who elevates the floor a little bit and can come in, obviously, in relief of Bear Bachmeier. You're not committed to him for life or anything like that. So that helps. I mean, you've got that there as a safety blanket too. Because as much as we can sit here and say, hey, Bear Bachmeier, great recruiting pedigree, it looks awesome. And you love that. And Aaron Roderick is saying great things about him right now, glowing remarks of him coming out of camp. And he's playing, remember, he's practicing against a great defense, what should be one of the best defenses in the Big 12. Oh, that's great. And there was a ton of talk like this and hype about Dylan Raiola last year at Nebraska, who was, I think a pretty comparable position. Very, very highly touted freshman, maybe the most highly touted quarterback coming out of the high school ranks last year. And at a big name program, lots of hype. People think he's great. He's got the Patrick Mahomes comparison thing going on. He starts pretty hot. But then by the end of the year, Dylan Raiola, he threw for 2,800 yards, but 13 to 11 touchdown to interception ratio last year. Even the best of the best, even the ultra elite, even playing against the Big Ten schedules that can, give you one or two real tough ones and then a lot of slop. Even that chewed up and spit out Dylan Raiola at times last year. So you do have to keep your expectations somewhat in check. The good news is I think BYU's probably got more around Bear Bachmeier than what Nebraska put around Raiola last year. If you're talking about just let the defense guide you, let the defense take you to the title, probably more conducive to that sort of thing at BYU this year than what Nebraska had last year. So anyway, Portland State and Stanford to ramp up here for Bear Bachmeier. You've already got, obviously, the storylines right themselves with the Stanford game. It's a guy in Bear Bachmeier who was at Stanford for spring ball and then transferred over to BYU. I know Tiger Bachmeier, his brother, said during some interviews that Bear would have definitely been in contention to be the starting quarterback at Stanford this year too. So a lot of interesting storylines to kick off the year there. But starts with Portland State. That's a good ramp up job for a true freshman quarterback to come in there. So I will be tuned in. I will be excited to watch that. Okay, let's see. We got a super chat in here. If you want to drop in a super chat, click the $ below the chat box in order to do that. Appreciate everybody who's here. Trent says Bear 47, BYU, Big 12, not LDS. Just awesome. Well, thank you, Trent, for sharing that. Yes, Bear Bachmeier is Catholic. I was reading that today. So you've gone from the Jewish quarterback last year in Jake Retzloff now to a Catholic quarterback at BYU. Interesting, as Trent points out there. But yes, Bear Bachmeier should get everybody excited, man. That should get everybody pumped up. I know I certainly am. And hey, maybe I think I can probably go ahead and drop this on the show. It's looking very promising that I'm going to be able to go to the Holy War this year. Got some things lined up. So it's looking very promising that I will get to go to Provo for the Holy War this year, which should be amazing. Obviously, I'm really, really, really looking forward to that. Like mid-October, I believe that is. Mid-October. All right. Keep filling up the chat. Drop me a super chat by clicking the $ below the chat box if you want to guarantee that your question or comment makes it on the show tonight. John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo if you want to hit me up there. Leave a question or comment. I will kick off the next show with your question or comment. Easy way to do that. Yeah, looking forward to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter hitting your inbox tomorrow or Friday. OFBnews.com to get signed up for that. Join 5,000 other Big 12 fans who already are subscribers. I will answer this question real quick because I see it. Yes, K-State Iowa State is a conference game. I understand the confusion around that because K-State will then play Arizona 2 weeks after that, actually less than 2 weeks after that on a Friday. And that game is not a conference game because it's a non-conference game that had been scheduled long before Arizona joined the Big 12. But yes, K-State Iowa State is a conference game. So it will be it's a big game. It's a big game. I guess I didn't even really mention that in the opening soliloquy about it, but that's a part of why it's important, man. Big 12 title race starts in week 0. Ron, will the watch party be live streamed? No, we might pop on. There was some talk about popping on at halftime or something. I know our post-game show will be live for sure. So you may have to just wait until after the game for post-game. Probably a little bit dangerous to put us on camera like while the game's going on. Thinking back to the last time we did that, which was a couple of years ago when K-State beat Oklahoma. Boy, who knows the things that were actually said when that game was being played. Had at least a little bit of time to calm down after that. All right, we'll finish here. Not exactly on the football on the field note, okay? But I saved it and tucked it away to the end of the show for you guys. But our Big 12 schools, $100 million behind from being able to compete long-term in college football. And I mean $100 million per year behind because one ACC athletic director says, yes, Big 12 schools are about $100 million behind per year, okay? This goes back to Whit Babcock at Virginia Tech. I talked about this the other day on the show. He was making a presentation to the board, angling for more money, just more support to try and keep Virginia Tech athletics relevant, competitive. It's been a football program that's kind of wallowed in some mediocrity here over the last decade plus. And Virginia Tech's not a place that you think of with an overwhelming amount of resources, right? So he had a PowerPoint that leaked. It got onto Twitter a week and a half ago or something like that, and showed a lot of what he was presenting to the board. I think much of it was like very good information. A lot of stuff that you or I that kind of live and breathe this would be pretty aware of. But some of it diving deeper into specifics and numbers. And hey, the ultimate crux of the matter was they're pushing, Whit Babcock is pushing for increased student fees and or like university subsidies, which is already happening, and you're definitely going to see more and more of it. And I think you'll probably see more and more of it pop up in the Big 12. Certainly places are going to push, like Jamie Pollard at Iowa State has made that push. I can tell you I do believe K-State has made that push, at least tried to kick the tires on it. I don't know that the answer came back the way that they really would have preferred on that, but, we'll see how that goes moving forward. You've got schools like Kansas that took care of a lot of these issues with a $300 million donation that came in from David Booth. Like, everybody's making moves, trying to figure this out. How are we going to pay revenue sharing every single year? Our athletic budget is going to need to go up significantly. How do we actually make this happen? Well, if you're looking for the numbers that Virginia Tech AD Whit Babcock threw out here, and Virginia Tech, I think, is just a great comp school for a lot of Big 12 schools. Very much in line with the price range that Big 12 schools are operating in from a revenue standpoint and from an athletic budget standpoint. Virginia Tech is right there. Very, very comparable school. So Whit Babcock, their AD, told the board that Va-Tech is $56 million short of being able to legitimately compete at the highest levels with their athletic budget. So that's a pretty huge gap, right? I mean, I said, hey, what he is throwing out here is that Big 12 schools are like $100 million behind. Well, I get the 56 million math from the fact that Whit Babcock says we need $200 million. That's somebody, it came down to it. Someone finally said, like, what is your ask? What are you asking for? He said $200 million is what he wants to feel like they are legitimately competitive. And Va-Tech's budget is currently $144 million. So there's your difference. $56 million extra dollars to kick in for the rev share, whatever else, what other expenses Virginia Tech thinks that they need in this era of college athletics. So Virginia Tech is 38th right now in the country in revenue. right in line with basically every Big 12 school that was just sandwiched toward the top of where Big 12 teams were in terms of athletic revenue. So I try to grab some numbers here to like give you some context. The latest numbers, these just came out not that long ago, showed that Kansas was the only Big 12 school to take in over $200 million in revenue. Kansas basketball, obviously, huge moneymaker. The next closest was Baylor at $148 million. So revenue, not the same as budget, but just if that kind of gives you some perspective. Texas, which I think is pretty much, with apologies to like Ohio State and maybe Georgia or Bama, Texas is really the crown jewel when it comes to brand and spending and all of that in college athletics right now. Texas both made and spent over $300 million in the last fiscal year. So the Big 12 figure that I pulled, now I only pulled one here. I guess more than that because I said Baylor had $148 million in revenue at least. But when I was looking at budgets, I was able to find that like 23-24, so this was not last year, but the year before, K-State's athletic budget was $93 million. Now, it's going to be over 100 paying revenue sharing, and it probably went up last year also. But 93 million, I feel like just rounding up there, kind of being generous. I'm like, all right, you start looking at these numbers. It's like, if you buy into what Whit Babcock is saying is necessary to be competitive at the highest level right now, it's $100 million, give or take. I mean, you're like $100 million per year off the pace. And so that is why I just have been sounding the alarm here, or really just defending the move to explore private equity for a long time. Like, guys, these are the financial realities. These are the numbers staring them down. That is $100 million. If you're trying to get to $200 million a year, if that truly is the price that it takes to be legitimately competitive, I mean, you got a long ways to go, and you're going to need a huge infusion of capital. I mean, even David Booth pumping in $300 million, that gives some perspective to it there. What that would cover 3 years of the extra expense. Now, Kansas is going to be in a better spot. They generated more revenue. But you can see how a lot of these numbers start to give some perspective to the numbers that Whit Babcock is talking about. I would also say, if I'm going to play devil's advocate, he's probably overshooting it. Like, if you're coming to the board, if you're a negotiator worth your salt, you're probably going to shoot on the high end, as opposed to coming in with the lowest number that you would take. You start on the high end and hope for a compromise, something in between maybe. So it could be a little bit exaggerated, but either way, still shows you the gravity of this situation. And it's why, I mean, you're going to see more and more schools are going to have to do this. They're going to have to get subsidies. They're going to have to rise up and try to get more student fees, whatever it might be, fight and scrap to get this money taken care of somehow. And I don't know how willing schools are going to be to do the subsidy thing. I would continue to push it. I would do the exact same thing Whit Babcock did. If I were a Big 12 school, I would put together a nice PowerPoint and show everything he was trying to show. Some of that was, look, front door to the university. You really need athletics. It's a very important thing for enrollment. It helps the school a lot if athletics are successful. If you want to tune this out, I mean, you are going to lose enrollment. It's an investment worth making. A lot of people need to be firing up PowerPoints, or at least firing up ChatGPT, find some kind of AI PowerPoint builder to get those going, like what Whit Babcock did. So anyway, hopefully that doesn't scare anybody too much, but it is an unfortunate reality, I think, facing virtually everybody, even as, I mean, look, Big 12 schools have been cooking Va Tech on the football field. Va Tech's only got one double-digit win season in the last 15 years. They only have 4 seasons that are over 7 wins in the last 15. It's been kind of a mediocre stretch there. There are plenty of Big 12 teams who are much more accomplished than Va Tech, and that's exactly the point here. Like, this is a school that is peer-like in where they're at, but they haven't even been as successful as you, and they're saying, hey, we need $200 million. Maybe it doesn't take quite that, but you're going to need to find extra ways to generate some money. Universities may have to rethink some of their philosophy here. Going to have to rethink some of that. Payson Cougar fan 7885. Thank you for being here. Appreciate you, my friend. Payson Cougar fan says a small donation for your Holy War adventure Utah still sucks. Go Cougars. Hey, thank you for that. Yeah, certainly we'll take that. Certainly we'll take that. And yeah, I'm gonna see what all I can do. I would love for that trip to just be as like special and cool as possible. So anybody who has hookups or connections to anything in Provo or Salt Lake, anywhere around there, I'm all ears. I'm all ears. Let's make it happen. Let's make that awesome. I had such a freaking blast last year for the K-State game. Outside of what transpired on the football field, I am here for doing it again. So thank you, Payson Cougar fan. Appreciate you, my friend, as always, for being here and supporting the channel. I think that's going to about wrap it up, guys. We're here, man. Football, you got 2 full days, Thursday, Friday, left to go before we get Big 12 football. I'm super stoked for Farmageddon. I am almost equally as stoked to watch KU Fresno, just another good Big 12 game. It's going to be great, guys. Hell, I'm stoked. Give me some Hawaii Stanford, man. Give me some Hawaii Stanford. You get to August 20th, I will definitely take in some Hawaii Stanford with bells on, man. With bells on. It was the same way I said, who did SMU play at the beginning of the year last year? I'm looking it up right now. You guys are going to have to wait while I look it up because I was trying to think of it last year or last show on Sunday. Who it was that they played that I was watching from a cell phone in my hotel room when I was taking a trip for my birthday. Birthday coming up next week, by the way, everybody floating that out there too. It was Nevada. That's right. It was SMU at Nevada on August 24th last year. Sitting there watching that from a cell phone, making sure that I could get that game in because when we get here, I need it badly. Need it badly. Oh, thanks. Everybody was all over it, man. On top of it. You guys way more on top of it than I was. Thanks for the Nevada help. Subscribe to the Open for Business Big 12 newsletter, ofbnews.com. That's ofbnews.com. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, John-Kurtz-4 on Venmo, and I will talk to you guys all very soon. I hope you have a great rest of your week. Let's all enjoy some football, ladies and gents.